In the last video, I gave a brief outline of why describing the Ascended Master phenomenon is so difficult, how dogma, the doctrine, and the gospel of any one thing can make it very difficult to outline what might be a phenomenon that transcends established doctrine, which most things do. I also mentioned that to know a thing just through the words of others, in other words dogma, is not really knowing a thing, because the only way to really know is to perceive directly, to see directly. I therefore hope that you take it as a given that what I may say about the Masters is dogma, and that to know the real truth you will have to learn to see this phenomenon yourself directly. And finally, I mentioned that in describing the Ascended Masters, I would use a more general definition, not just the theosophical one, so that I might also be able to include other groups, and ideas about a ruling and secret brotherhood that may be related, and be pertinent to this discussion. To begin then, I will provide a small dogmatic, that is word-based description of what I have perceived to be the Ascended Masters, but only with the hope that this will motivate you to seek your own direct truth. And to this end, in this video, I will not only describe what I perceive, but I will also show you how you can perceive this force referred to as the Ascended Masters directly yourself. So, as I have perceived it then, the Ascended Masters, which may be called the Illuminated Ones, or the Secret Chiefs perhaps, are not one thing. That is, they are not just one particular type of thing, as is most often believed by many. The phenomenon of the Secret Chiefs is broad in nature, and not all that speak or say that they have been in contact with them are speaking of the same thing. For starters, one angle of this phenomenon represents suprapowerful ideals or facets of human knowledge, a kind of akashic field that at times can attain such ordered coherence from the human point of view, that it may, when certain sensitive people do tune into it, seem that these fields are actually individualities, personalities, or Godhead-like entities, that the perceiver may imagine as having sometimes even a kind of body, etheric or otherwise, a personality then, and some kind of etheric form where no such actuality exists in a broader perspective. These fields of highly organized information then are so vast, energetically potent, and ordered, that they appear to be a living being, a being beyond the human dimension. This is one representation of the illuminated, and a more common one than some suppose. We live in a self-aware and highly cohesive universe, and this universe sometimes does talk to us, and when it does, we are more often than not the kind of creatures that love to attribute human-like characteristics to things. We love personification and anthropomorphism. Another facet of the phenomena, that is the Illuminated Masters, does indeed involve complete other personalities, existent personalities, that have gone beyond the need for physical bodies. This first and higher order of ascended personalities are farthest from our conception of what is or once was human. They are in essence expanded personalities, that possess intellects of such vast proportions, that the boundaries imposed by even the descriptive personality is really a deterrent to understanding, because these expanded individualities, while still individual, are vast in proportion and contain within them whole worlds of knowing, being and doing. In such a case, the perceiver of this type of ascended master may oftentimes only tune into, a small fraction of what this individuality is, and they may only vaguely suspect the true extent and expansive nature of this great other. This version of the phenomenon operates in scales that are hard to imagine, and their message, if completely coherent at all, involves an almost mechanical or emotionless spectrum of information and doing, that in most cases defies rational interpretation within the bounds of human reality. For that reason then, terms such as good and evil are most often descriptors that cannot encompass the dimensional boundaries, and the field of action where these individualities dwell and work. Within this scope of actual individualities that have gone past human organic form, that have ascended beyond it, there are what could be termed with great care, lesser individualities, and chimeric essences, that though lesser in scope than the individualities that I just described, are still far more intellectually capable than us, and that from our perspective are indeed ascended masters to some degree. It is these ascended personalities that most would call ascended masters, but the term ascended should not have you believe that this means good in the traditional modern sense. These non-corporeal personalities can vary greatly in personality, being that these are true individuals, and such individuals, due to their own needs, and the natural properties of the universe itself, do form bigger groups, bigger conglomerations, brotherhoods, as it were, of like-minded and like-inclined individuals. And I must make it clear that these are indeed individualities, personalities, that no longer require the physical body, but nevertheless exist. They are personalities that no longer need a body. These ascended personalities may present themselves before people in many ways. In the modern world, many of these individualities will present themselves as channeled beings, who may describe themselves, their mission, and their past in many ways. Other times these beings may present themselves to others in a more direct manner, perhaps creating a type of etheric body that the other person might be able to see. The nature of these more human entities, if I may use that word, that some have called the ascended masters, and are now in modern times the channeled personalities that are being brought forth by many now famous channelers, can at times show characteristics, provide information, or seem to participate in action that can be incredibly helpful, while at other times it might be considered deceptive or evil from the human perspective. In assessing all of this information and action that these beings may engage in, it is important that you realize that these actions from their perspective, being that they can see through the illusion of time, are not always all that they seem to be. The reason for this is that the eventual consequence that they are after can be vast in scope and perhaps removed from human perception, and it may be the case that for these no longer physical personalities, what we may term a good outcome is not something that they may agree to. Such vast machinations of action and the distillation of information is many-layered therefore, and may involve such things as dream experiences, and in these modern times, what some have termed abduction experiences, including other aspects of what has become the contactee experience. Indeed, these actions and machinations often involve such powerful internal work that whole landscapes of people may become pitted one against another, to even create chaos, disease, and disorder in order to not only bring about different dogmatic sets of beliefs, which in time will bring about even larger change in accordance to what these personalities discern to be the correct path for humanity, but also as a way to fortify the human race in the same way that a gardener might bind the stems of a plant to create a curve or a stronger stem, or how they might introduce certain types of pests in order to countermand other pests, and further increase the resilience of the plant over time. And all of this represents not a complete aligned movement in one direction, but oftentimes the battle between one faction, one brotherhood or cabal, against another. From the individual human perspective then, the dreams of conquest by some leaders, let's say, may seem evil. Certain political and industrial schemes may seem insane, corruptive, but all such movements may be directly controlled by these illuminated ones through the use of dream contact of the masses, and of the ruling elite, or those that they have chosen, to bring about a new tide of belief and action, the new messiahs, the new conquerors of the earth. These ascended masters do try to protect themselves, to remain hidden, to some degree from the masses of physical humanity, and the most powerful way is through the production and reliance by humanity on endless dogma, and the need by the many to fight and hurt others, over the battle for what in the end amounts to faith and second-hand belief. Dogma is their most powerful weapon, and as such it is the first opponent of those that seek the truth. This confusion, distrust, and sometimes even headaches upon looking into these beings is, for the most part, the inability to see beyond dogma then, and to be stuck in a weird place where all that you know is what you know through second-hand information, instead of knowing directly for yourself, through direct energetic seeing. The only cure for this dogma force field, and the only way that I know beyond this gravity, this weight of dogma in all aspects of our life, is to learn to directly perceive these admittedly chilling forces yourself, and see for yourself the dichotomy between action, myth, good, and evil, where these forces operate. And when I say myth, please don't think I mean fiction. What I mean is that these forces, these quite real beings, operate on a level so high, and across such a long breadth of time, being that from their point of view human time is meaningless, that to us as mortals these actions are like a kind of mythic dream. They are indeed actions that originate, from our point of view as humans, in the dream time, in the realm of myths and magic. Now, as I have said, all of this is dogma fundamentally, and I do advise, if I may, for you to try to seek and perceive your own answers directly. To that end, I have written a number of articles on my website, and I have also written about how to do this in some of my books. In that body of work, I do my best to show you how to develop the ability to tune directly into this illuminated power and study them, or anything else you desire to know, directly yourself through what I have either termed empathic vision, inner feeling sense, or seeing. And with this technique, with this ability when mastered, it is possible to not just tune into this power, the illuminated ones, but any power, any curiosity, any question that you may have. So I show you then how to tune into and see for yourself, to know yourself directly and skip dogma, the imposed beliefs, the results of this or that study, the what the influencers are saying spiel, the credo, the creed, the gospel, the doctrine, the canon of the times, all of it. Such a technique involves the ability to fundamentally focus your attention with fine discernment and sustained effort, while at the same time letting go of preconceived ideas and beliefs about what is and should be. I have also referred to this ability, when it is actuated in its most basic sense, as the ability to truly contemplate a thing, and as power and skill grows, as the ability to perceive energy directly, to see. Through this ability, you can project a part of yourself and see. Tune into the wholeness of that thing and be enveloped in the actuality of the thing, and through personal and sustained attention on your part, begin your own true knowing of anything, in this case, true knowing of who the Ascended Masters really are, how they work, and what it means to humanity and to you as an individual. So my final words on this are that you let go of all dogma, even my own. Let go of all that is not your direct perception, and instead focus on this skill, to the point that it is helpful to you. And in time then, through your own focus, you will see that there are many layers to this thing, to these Ascended Masters, so many layers, and so much subtlety that you may not have the words to describe all that you will then know. For example, you may ask, are they here to help? Or do they have their own agenda? Well, they definitely have their own agenda, but I will let you decide, in accordance to your personal work in perceiving these beings directly, whether this agenda is a help or a hindrance to humanity, and to you in particular. In order to not make this video too long and complex, in the video description, I will leave links to articles that you can read for free on my web page. There I will go over the basic techniques of contemplation, empathy, which is the ability to project beyond yourself, and a technique to increase the power of your focus. These techniques will start your journey, and on their own they can allow you to perceive directly in time. If you are already familiar with these basic techniques, or if you feel that in time you may be interested in knowing more, expanding your power, learning how to greatly expand the power of focus and personal energy therefore, the big leagues as it were, then I will recommend my books, The Occult Experience, The Magnum Opus, and The Way of the Projectionist. With this information, you will be able to begin your own journey towards true and direct knowledge in any subject that you choose.